Hello. Now, for me, as someone who is on a spiritual journey, the idea of integrating masculine and feminine is actually fairly central as an aim, this idea of overcoming dualities. And when we look to examples, my own tradition, particularly the Christian tradition, there are perhaps numerous examples that we could turn to of saints and others who do this, not least perhaps Jesus himself. But one today that attracted my attention and is often cited as someone who embodied both what were regarded in his time and probably still today are as both masculine and feminine qualities is St. Francis of Assisi, someone who is known as the founder of the Franciscan order. He was a friar in the 12th, 13th century. And so he had those sort of so-called masculine traits of leadership and someone that had great courage preaching the gospel during the time of the Crusades and other attributes that are often labeled masculine. But he's also very well known for what are traditionally labeled feminine qualities, someone that is very compassionate, very nurturing. He used maternal metaphors very often, apparently, in his teaching. So he spoke about nurturing one of his disciples, or indeed many of his disciples, but one in particular, Saint Clare, as a mother holds and nurtures a baby to her breast. He spoke about Christians allowing themselves to give birth to the Christ within. And there were other examples of this feminine metaphors that he used. He was described by his contemporaries when the Pope of the time, Pope Gregory the Ninth, asked for testimonies and witnesses. There was an inquiry before he was canonized as a saint. So quite a lot of evidence built up around contemporary witnesses to his character. He was described by them very often as being the saint most closely conformed to Christ. So really someone that defied the gender norms of his day, both in the words he used in his teaching and in his example, the characteristics that he embodied. And a famous poem that he wrote talks about brother sun and sister moon. I like that. It seems to allude to me to some of the imagery spoken of in particularly Indigenous American, or certainly some Indigenous American traditions and shamanic traditions as well, thinking of all of creation as being worthy of containing God within, if you like, containing the divine within, and worthy of compassion embodied. Now, I don't think we can draw any conclusions about whether he was trans or not, or anything about his sexuality. St. Francis very much seems to be someone that embodied the spiritual life. So he would have probably transcended ideas around gender identity. It was not something that featured very strongly in his life as someone that was committed to a life of poverty and preaching and just following the gospel and embodying attributes that demonstrated Christ's love. So I don't think we can draw that kind of conclusion. But as a role model of someone who integrated and very actively demonstrated at a time when perhaps this was dangerous even to do in his society, both the masculine and the feminine, I think that St. Francis really stands out. I like him for his love of animals as well, his tremendous compassion to all of nature, not just animals, actually. He spoke about the sun and the moon as brothers and sisters, and as someone who talks about the maternal as well as the paternal and the fraternal. So all round, a good role model, if ever we need one, of someone that integrates masculine and feminine.